guys, it's Destiny, and today we're going to be checking out the recent tier list changes as Hysilens recently released, so I thought we could take a look at the tier list, see where things have shifted, and also just share our opinions on the tier list so far. Before we get into today's video, I would love to know if you personally pulled for Hysilens or if you're potentially going to skip her for someone else and for who. Lastly, if you do enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and now let's get straight into it. Alrighty, so here we are with the latest Pride tier list updates. And we are going to be checking out where they place Hysilens and also where other characters may have shifted. So if we take a look right here, they placed Hysilens in the DPS section, and she has the categories of damage over time, debuff, and partner, which we'll get into this partner category in a moment here. But if we take a look, she is tier 0 when it comes to Memory of Chaos, tier 0.5 in Pure Fiction, and tier 1 in APOC so far. And this is considering E0, S0 Hysilens. And for those that are a bit confused as to what tier 0 means, essentially the higher the character is on the list, the better that they are rated. So for tier 0, you're at the highest possible, and then for tier 5, you are considered the forgotten ones, so characters that just aren't holding up as well anymore. Coming back here to Hysilens, she did make a very nice impact for the damage over time playstyle, and there are multiple reasons for this. One of the reasons being that she is able to apply very valuable debuffs for the playstyle onto enemies, one of which being the vulnerability debuff from her skill, which is a 20% vulnerability, and this is essentially a 1.2 times damage increase for the team. And then for her ultimate, she's going to reduce enemies' attack by 15%, but also their defense by 25%, which the damage over time playstyle can heavily take advantage of both of these debuffs. Additionally, with Hysilens' talent now, whenever an ally attacks an enemy, she will have a 100% base chance to inflict that enemy with either wind shear, bleed, burn, or shock, and there is a priority given to inflict a different state. So let's say an enemy already had wind shear, bleed, and then burn. The priority will now be to inflict shock onto them. So she can inflict numerous types of damage over time onto enemies, and it doesn't even have to be her attacking the enemy, it can be one of your allies. So if you had a very fast sustain on the team, let's say you had a faster Gallagher, or even Hysilens, or even if your Hwhwa had a nice amount of speed, whatever it may be, this can result in them assisting with inflicting damage over time onto enemies as well. This is going to be very useful for detonating that damage over time, which Hysilens is able to detonate damage over time when she uses her ultimate, and this will result in a very nice amount of damage output from herself. And whenever she does deploy her zone, which you can deploy her zone by using her ultimate, she'll also recover 1 skill point, and this will be useful just for the skill point usage of the team, since depending on what your full team is, there might be a bunch of skill points used very frequently. So for example, if you have Kafka on your team, which is of course preferable, Kafka is going to be able to skill very frequently, especially if you have her at a higher speed. Let's say you also have Eagle set equipped on her, and now she's going to be able to advance herself forward after using her ultimate, which now results in her attacking even more frequently. This could result in a lot of skill points being used. If you have Hwhwa on the team, Hwhwa is going to want to skill every once in a while. And then when it comes to Hysilens, let's say you had maybe Black Swan for your 3rd slot. So in the case of Hysilens, you would want to skill to apply the vulnerability debuff onto enemies. In the case of Black Swan, you'll also want to skill with her to apply the defense reduction onto enemies, which once you apply this, you would mainly want to just reapply this once it is about to go away. But in the case of Memory of Chaos, when you do enter the next wave of enemies, you will have to reapply that debuff. So that is something to keep in mind of when it comes to the skill point usage of the team. So her being able to recover a skill point after deploying her zone will be helpful for being able to maintain the amount of skill points that can end up being used. Hysilens is also going to be able to increase her damage dealt based on her effect hit rate, which she can get a maximum increase of 90%, and you would want to get around 120% effect hit rate in order to do this. But this is a nice damage boost for Hysilens here to be able to deal more damage onto enemies. Overall, when it comes to Hysilens' debuffing capabilities and then also the amount of damage that she is going to be able to deal, she does make for a very powerful character for the damage over time playstyle and has nicely assisted with the clear times of the playstyle as well. She did end up in tier 0. I did expect her maybe in the 0.5 range, maybe to start off just to see how damage over time would do with maybe another Memory of Chaos or two. But it does appear that they have placed her in tier 0, which I can also understand. In Memory of Chaos, the team is doing very well at the moment. And it is also worth noting that she does have the partner tag, which the partner tag is absolutely in reference to Kafka, which as we can see, Kafka also went up. Understandably so. She synergizes very well with Hysilens, and Kafka overall is one of the most important characters for the damage over time playstyle due to her frequent detonation of damage over time, as she can detonate damage over time with her skill, her ultimate, her follow-ups. So when it comes to being paired alongside damage over time characters, Kafka is definitely going to be one of the most important characters when it comes to the aspect of the front-loaded damage. What I mean by this is the damage that you are dealing on your turn in comparison to when it is, let's say, the enemy's turn and they take that damage over time inflicted onto them. With Kafka being able to detonate as frequently as she does, she's heavily assisting with this front-loaded damage, if you will, of the team. And while Hysilens herself can detonate with her ultimate, unfortunately, it is not the same frequency as what Kafka can do when it comes to her skill, her ultimate, her follow-up, and so on. So that's why when it comes to the partner tag, Kafka is still a very, very important character to have on your damage over time team. I actually made a video of using Hysilens without Kafka just to see how the results would go, which I ended up using Hysilens, Black Swan, Chirby, and then Huahua, which this team ended up getting a 3 cycle in Memory of Chaos, which isn't too bad. But then when I played the team with Kafka instead of Chirby, the team ended up getting a 0 cycle instead. So depending on what type of Memory of Chaos it is, this difference can end up being greater. So when it comes to Hysilens in particular, the performance of the damage over time team as a whole is definitely further improved by having Kafka on the team, which Kafka is also getting a rerun right now alongside Hysilens. And I have said it in previous videos, I would personally recommend, if you are looking to get into the damage over time playstyle, I would recommend first taking a look at Kafka, considering to pick her up first, and then looking at Hysilens. Ideally, having both would be amazing, but in the case of priority, I would say Kafka is still, once again, a very important character for the playstyle. It does make me wonder in the case of Hysilens where they would place her if she did not have Kafka. Where would you personally place her? And this is also with E0, S0 Hysilens. And when it comes to S0, she does have nice budget-friendly options she can use, so I can understand why for S0 she can be placed pretty nicely, especially if you are considering Kafka alongside her. But yeah, I'd love to know all of your thoughts on Hysilens. I'm not too surprised she's in this Apex character category, especially considering Kafka alongside her, which is why she has the partner tag. But moving on from that, the main change we can see here in the Apex category for the DPSs is Aglaea actually dropped. Not too sure if I would fully honestly agree with this. I know the last tier list, they also dropped the Herda. Currently in this Memory of Chaos, based on the Turbulence, it is more catered for skill damage since the Turbulence assists with dealing more skill damage, and Aglaea is primarily using enhanced basic attacks, so that is something to keep in mind of. However, I do feel like Aglaea was still performing pretty well, so I'm not really too sure of the drop. If we were to go to the changelog, let's actually see, why did this drop happen? With the release of Hysilens, the continual domination brought about by Finan and the overall high bar of tier 0 MMOC currently, Aglaea is not currently measuring up and is much closer in power to those ranked in 0.5. I guess in all of your opinions, would you say that Aglaea is more of the power level of these other tier 0.5 characters in the case of Mighty, Saber, and then also the Herda? Or would you say Aglaea still is around the characters in tier 0, where it comes to Anaxa, Archer, Castris, now Hysilens, and also Finan? I'd say honestly, the characters in tier 0 or 0.5, all of them are very nice damage dealers when it comes to how much damage they can deal, their mechanics, and so on. So either way, both of these categories are still very good for our damage dealers that we have up here. But I'd love to know in the case of Aglaea, do you all agree with this? Or do you guys feel like she should have stayed up in tier 0? This is also keeping in mind of an E0, S0 Aglaea. She does have the partner tag though, so this is also keeping in mind of Sunday is going to be alongside her. As for some other changes, Jingliu actually went up, pretty nice to see. Rappa did go down, which if I were to take a guess regarding this, it is primarily due to the fact that Break hasn't really been getting as much support, unfortunately. It does feel like after we got Fugue, Break hasn't really gotten many new characters to assist with the playstyle, so it does make me wonder if maybe we'll get another Break character soon, maybe near the end of 3.x. We are actually nearing the end though of 3.x. We only have until I believe 3.8. So then we would end up going to 4.0. So I'd love to know if you guys think that Break is going to end up getting a new character for the playstyle, but based on some of the analytics that Pride 1 has, if I'm not mistaken, it has showed that Break has been getting a bit slower of clear times as of lately in comparison to some of our crit damage dealers, like the ones up here, for example, Anaxa, Archer, Casterus, Finan. So Break has been suffering a bit from what it seems. I'd love to know though, if you are currently playing a Break team, how has your Break team been performing? And we can also take a look, Fugue has also dropped as well. I think it's kind of funny that normal Tingyun went up, but then Fugue went down. So that's a pretty interesting change right there. When it comes to the amplifiers here, we do see quite a bit of them have actually gone up, except for Fugue, she went down. But in the case of Tingyun, Sparkle, and then Bronya, so all of them went up, which based on the changelog, there was mention of Finan. Bronya does pair very nicely with Finan, and Bronya as just a general supportive character can be used on a multitude of teams, but especially with Finan here, Bronya has been getting some very nice usage. In the case of Sparkle, you technically can also use Sparkle alongside Finan, and Sparkle is also one of Archer's best partners. It does make me wonder though why in the case of Sparkle they didn't put the partner tag, since if we're looking at an E0S0 Sparkle and we're just considering her as a general support, I'm not too sure if I would personally agree with her alongside a character like Silverwolf. And that's just of course my personal opinion, but I'm not too sure if I would honestly agree with that. If she has the partner tag, it's a bit more understandable. Since with the partner tag, we're mainly referring here to Archer. If she was not alongside Archer, then the placement would be lower. So I am a bit confused as to why Sparkle here, especially once again at E0S0, does not have the partner tag. And then Tingyun also went up, which she does pair nicely with some of our newest damage dealers we have been getting. You can use her alongside Saber, you can use her alongside Finan, and so on. So in the case of Tingyun, pretty cool to see her go up. She's honestly still a very, very powerful 4-star you can nicely take advantage of. In my videos where I recommend which characters to build, I absolutely try to make sure I make mention of Tingyun. Tingyun is still an excellent 4-star option, especially for those that may not have too many supports. So like, let's say you don't have a lot of these top tier supports. You don't have Cypher, you don't have Chibi, you don't have Robin, you don't have Sunday, whatever it may be. Tingyun is a very nice option to use as a support for your teams due to the fact that she is going to give you a nice attack boost, she's going to give you damage boost, she's also going to give you some nice energy, and she is a very nice holder of the Dance 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 Light Cone, which can assist with advancing forward the team. So it is very nice here to see Tingyun go up. I'd love to know if you guys agree with Tingyun's placement at the current moment. Now, when it comes to the sustains, we have Huohuo and Hysilens still in tier 0. It does make me wonder when it comes to the new Dan Heng. I'm actually very excited for version 3.6. Since we're getting the new Dan Heng, which will be a sustain character, I'm so excited to know more about him and just see where he ends up getting placed in relation to our sustains over here. If I had to take a guess though, with the patterns they've shown us with sustains, I would not be surprised if he was definitely very high on the tier list. And then when it comes to March, I'm very excited to know more about her as well. And also in the case of Cerydra, which will be in the next tier list update we end up doing, for Cerydra, I'm actually kind of curious where they may end up placing her, if she might end up having a partner tag, as she does work very nicely some specific synergies. I have mentioned this before in the past. Anaxa is a strong synergy, Finan is a strong synergy. There are also some other synergies that someone can take advantage of. For example, if you have, let's say, an E2 Fei Xiao, you're going to be able to nicely take advantage of the duplicate skill to get more Flying Aureus. You could maybe end up using Cerydra with Zila, for example, if you do have the Herda's E1 and so on. So I'm definitely going to be testing out Cerydra quite a bit though, just to see what potential synergies she has, especially outside of Anaxa and Finan. Oh, another character I actually want to try out as well is also Archer, to see how she pairs with Archer. But I'll just have to wait and see once I am able to test her out. But I'd love to know where you guys think she might actually end up being placed on the tier list. What do you guys think of a lot of the placements? Are there any placements where you heavily disagree and you would argue for either the character going up or going down. I'd love to know all of your thoughts. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.